How many of you have that friend that no matter what the obnoxious opportunity is in front of you, they will challenge you to participate in it? They will almost dare you to jump forward in the risk. And sometimes it's not because they really think it's going to pay off for you. Sometimes it's not because they think it's even a good idea. It's just to see how gullible you are to dive in and do the next thing, to try something that nobody has tried before. How many of you have a friend like that? And what is the equivalent of the double dog dare when it comes to leadership? I'm just curious. Have you experienced that? Or what does it look like in your leadership world? Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And I remember some of those times in my life with guys that I grew up with. We would try some of the craziest stuff in the world. I think probably the friend that I got in the most trouble with doing crazy stuff like that was a guy by the name of Tim. And Tim and I did everything from, one year we found an old cast iron bathtub. And we turned it, first we turned it right side up so you could sit in it, just so you kind of had a cage around you. And when it snowed in Texas, which doesn't happen often, but we've seen it recently, when it snowed in Texas in our high school years, we took that bathtub and we tied it behind a pickup truck and we would drive it up and down the road. And on the first trip, we didn't realize that the drain hole in the bottom of the bathtub was scooping up the ice that was on the ground, and it was throwing it right into Tim's face. And as we finally came to a stop after laughing hysterically, Tim's hair was going straight back behind his head like the FTD, delivery guy with the hair flying by, but it was all frozen with icicles. We laughed for hours at Tim's predicament. But then we tried to turn it over and ride it like a bull, and that didn't work at all because it wasn't very stable and you couldn't hold on. There was nothing to hold on to except a rope, which was going to crush your fingers. So we finally gave up on the bathtub and went on to other things. But this was the same guy that helped me roll a tractor tire up on the roof to see how far it would bounce when it came off the roof, down the hill, and across the yard. Unfortunately, the chain link fence that belonged to the neighbor wasn't strong enough to stop it, and it crushed the fence and kept going all the way to the house. Yeah, not a good plan. We tried shopping carts down the big hill in front of the house together. We woke up my sister at 3 a.m. and told her it was time to go to school together. We did a lot of really crazy stuff together. But the most important aspect of all of those was one of us saying to the other, I bet you can't, or I bet you won't. When it comes to leadership, I want to ask you the question, how often do you find yourself making a decision, diving into a new role, diving into an opportunity, taking a risk, not because you've done the assessment of it, not because you've walked out all the possibilities, not because you have any clue what the return on investment might be, but because someone has said to you, I bet you're not willing to take that risk. I double dog dare you to take that risk. And so you don't. Or you do. Because you got something to prove. See, there are a lot of people in leadership who lead from the aspect of I have something to prove. They haven't done the homework. They haven't looked into the outcomes, potential outcomes, or even the ramifications of their decisions. It's almost like they've just been poked and somebody said, you can't pull that off. And their response is, challenge accepted. That almost always ends in disaster. Not always, but almost always. If you haven't looked at the business plan, if you haven't planned through the idea, just taking action because someone dares you to take action or challenges you to take action or says that you're a loser if you don't take action, that's not a good reason to take action. That's not well thought out navigation as a leader. Now, trust me, I've done plenty of things that when I started to do it, a lot of people said to me, no, that's not going to be a good plan. And I've accepted the challenge of them saying that's not a good idea. I'll give you one example. I built this obnoxious trailer. Now, when I bought the trailer, I wanted to think about like a DJ trailer, but a mobile stage, kind of a platform thing all rolled in one. And everybody was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of that. And then I found one that somebody else had started to build, but they never get the concept to work right. And I thought, I think I know how to fix that. But the guy who went with me the day that I bought the trailer to help me get it home and kind of manufacture some ideas on it, told me the day that I bought it, this is a dumb idea. I don't think it's ever going to work. Now, he's a good friend. He's been a friend for a long time. In fact, we've probably spent more hours working on that trailer together than anybody else. But him saying to me, I don't think this is going to work, was kind of like challenge accepted. Not because I wanted to prove him wrong or that I had anything to prove, but I had noodled through the concept long enough. I had been kind of around the idea and the problem that it was solving from a lot of different ways and thought, I think I have a solution for the problem. And the reality is a lot of people didn't realize that it was a challenge or a problem because they'd always found solutions that were kind of answering the problem, but not really answering the problem. See, here was the problem. People want to do outdoor events, 5K runs, church festivals, car shows. We've done a lot of those. School events where they say, hey, we want you to set up out there. And so 500 yards from the school where there's no power, there's no way to run, where you're going to have to take a generator. But now you've got to schlep all your equipment out there and set up your tripods on uneven ground. And then you're amongst the crowd. And if you've got 250 to 2,500 little kids running around you, you kind of disappear in the crowd. Nobody knows you're there. So with the trailer, with the stage on it, with the sound system in it, I can put it right out there. We've used it at Six Flags with 3,500 people in the crowd. We've used it in the parking lot of churches for trunk or treats. We've used it for car shows with 4,000 or 5,000 people milling around. And in all of those instances, like a radio remote, it's large, it's easy to see. It's actually larger and louder than any radio remote I've ever seen. But it's very, very obvious. It draws a crowd. It draws attention. We've even used it for places where the car show included an audio display for people who put $20,000, $30,000 in their sound systems. And with this particular device, we were able to talk over them. The idea of building it didn't come to me because I just wanted to spend a bunch of money. It didn't come to me because I thought I will have the only one in the market, although that's still pretty much true. But because I saw a giant gap between what was being done and the solutions that were available. See, you can rent a stage. You can rent a stage and somebody pulls up with their U-Haul trailer and takes all the pieces out and assembles a stage, and it's going to take them an hour or two to put it all together. And then after they put it all together, then you've got to add the sound system to it. And then you've got to add rails and steps and blah, 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 blah. Our stage is attached to the trailer. So literally when we open the door, we have a stage. The sound system is installed in the trailer. So when we open the door, we have a sound system. We have a sound system, we have a green room, we have microphones, we have everything, and it takes about 15 minutes from the time it's on scene until sound is on. Nobody else in the world has that. Even the big stages that unfold like a giant clamshell can't boast that they're ready to use in 15 minutes from arrival with sound. I don't know any of them that are. So now the question is, what's next? Well, the next for me has been the idea that pulling that trailer into some environments, that takes up some space. So I thought to myself, what if I make a trailer that's not really a trailer? So I don't have to have 4 parking spaces to set it up. I just like show up and bam, there's the stage. So if you've been watching my Facebook, you've seen recently that our cargo van that we use, it's actually an adopted old school church bus, whatever you want to call that, a 15 passenger, but it's a 1-ton. And so we've actually fabricated, imagined, and played with until we've created a stage that rides in the trailer hitch on the back of this vehicle. It's 27 inches high. It's 6 foot by 6 foot. It holds 2,000 pounds, so you can put almost 10 people on this stage, 10 average sized people. The purpose of it, though, is to be able to pull up at an event, say an outdoor concert or an outdoor event where you need an MC for a few minutes that's tall enough to be seen over the crowd. And you need to be able to have a sound system that's readily available. Everything will be wired to be plugged right into the van. So wherever we drive that van and drop that stage, we have 1,000 watts of sound with microphones ready to go. Somebody can jump on that stage, do a performance. Now the next 2 things we want to add to that are a green screen that will be behind the stage. So if we're filming somebody on a tight shot and they want to digitize the crowd or they want to digitize some other scene in the background, we have all the ambience of the outside event. We have all of the temporariness of being, we could do it in a parking lot or a gas station or wherever we want to, film this and then get on the road again. So think about the rallies. Think about the news events that happen where there's a whole bunch going on, but you need to get above the crowd and get the lights and sound out there, we will have the ability to do that literally in a matter of minutes from the time that we arrive. What challenge came up to see that? Well, all of the events that were going on through 2020, all of the times that there were little outcrops of needs for an event, church parking lots where they're like, we just need a sound system for all these cars out here. And, the preacher's up there standing on the sidewalk and nobody can see him. Well, what if we put someone right in the middle of the parking lot on a platform with a microphone, with the FM broadcaster? We've got all of that solved. Well, what if we want to do, church by the lake? What if we want to have a political rally right on the edge of the water? Sure, not a problem. If I can get my van there, we have a stage there. We have a sound system there. We have everything you need there. And we don't have to unload and schlep equipment. It's all in there. Was that a good decision? I don't know. We just finished it. But the idea of leadership sometimes is thinking outside the box. I don't have to have somebody say to me, I bet you won't, or I dare you to, in order to move forward with a new idea. Innovation doesn't wait on other people to challenge you to do it. Nor does it require that someone challenge you for you to step outside the box and try to do something new. Also, it's not always a guarantee that just because someone challenges you to do it and you raise up with challenge accepted, that what you're endeavoring to do is going to be worthwhile. Sometimes people will challenge you just to see you fail. How many political candidates do you know who've jumped into office, jumped into the race, thrown their hat in the ring, so to speak, because somebody said, well, I bet you won't, or I think you could do better than so-and-so. And really what it became was a very expensive financial and emotional devastation to the process of their life. There are a lot of opportunities out there to dive into something new, to be innovative, to be a leader in your industry, to try something that nobody's done before. Lots of opportunities to do that. There's also a lot of opportunities to be made a fool of just because somebody says, I double dog dare you, or I bet you won't. Listen, I'm all for, and I am one to say, challenge accepted, I will dive in. But I don't make those decisions lightly. And I do try to look at the long game, not just a solution for now, but could I solve a problem that nobody else sees as a problem just yet? I want to be ahead of the curve as often as I can. I want to solve problems that people haven't yet identified. I want to be the solution for a problem that I know is imminently coming. So 6 months from now, when you need a stage in a parking lot, that if somebody would come up to you and say, you can't do that here, you can be gone in 5 minutes and no one will know you're there. Call me. When you need to have a sound system that can be set up with a platform to stand on, think old school soapbox, where you can make your presentation and you got 10 minutes to be ready, call me. When you're ready to do what you need to do anytime, anywhere, any space, and it requires a microphone and a platform, call me. Because we're almost ready for that now, even though there's not a demand for that just yet. I think there will be very soon. I'm hoping to be ahead of the curve. I'm hoping to be solving a problem that many people don't know they have yet. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Oh, and by the way, for what it's worth, Brian Seltzer, you can wear pants even when you're not wearing the same thing. Look, I didn't have my back far enough. Yeah, see, I still have pants on. They're blue jeans with my button-down shirt and my jacket, but I'm not standing behind the camera without my pants on. I'm just saying. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.